Illegal immigrants are a growing threat to Europe. Constitution Square in Warsaw. This is where the tragic scenes took place. A 31-year-old Georgian citizen died in the hospital after being stabbed, possibly with a knife. Yesterday, just before midnight, Warsaw police officers were notified of a fight in front of a restaurant on Constitution Square in Warsaw. Preliminary findings by police officers indicate that 3 Georgian citizens were injured in this incident. One of them, a 31-year-old man, was taken to the hospital with a chest wound, where he died despite the efforts of doctors. 3 Georgian citizens were detained in connection with the incident. Actions are ongoing. Crime among foreigners in Warsaw is on the rise, and Georgian gangs in the Polish capital are becoming a daily occurrence. There are corners of the city where even the police are afraid to venture, not to mention that officers in the city are simply in short supply. Warsaw residents can forget about safety. Surprisingly, the president of Warsaw paints a very different reality. Warsaw is safe, Poland is safe. On the other hand, it is true that we are seeing trends that could lead us to have a resurgence of criminal groups. And this is Berlin. In the German capital, a 19-year-old assailant attacked a 30-year-old Spanish tourist with a knife at a memorial to Holocaust victims. The man fortunately got out alive. According to the Bild Daily, the detained knifeman is a Syrian immigrant previously known to police for petty crimes. During interrogation, the 19-year-old Syrian stated that he wanted to kill people out of hatred for Jews. The decision had been brewing in his mind for several weeks. Investigators found in the perpetrator's backpack the Quran, a prayer rug, and possibly the murder weapon, a hunting knife. He approached his victim from behind and tried to slit the Spanish man's throat. The perpetrator lived in a migrant center in Leipzig, similar ones that are being built all over Poland. Residents of our country near the western border fear for their health and lives. There is a pervasive fear because everyone knows that these people are capable of anything out of boredom. In the German town of Eisenhüttenstadt, near the border with Poland, in a week's time, on March 1st, the so-called Departure Center, or Migrant Center, will start operating. Eisenhüttenstadt will focus on returning migrants to Poland. German Interior Minister admits, here containers are erected on the grounds of this center. They will be transported across the Polish border from here. Sending illegal immigrants to Poland will be done on the basis of the Dublin Convention. According to it, if a foreigner first arrives in Poland and then ends up in Germany, the German authorities can send the illegal immigrant back to the first country, that is, to Poland. 7,000 migrants at a time are to be brought over on the 1st of March, and from what I know, they will be transporting migrants every day, and up to 70,000 by the 10th of March. Do you want to stay in Germany or be in Poland? I came here and now I don't know what will happen to me. We want to be in Germany. They assured me that if I get into a European country, if my application is rejected, I won't have to go back home. Poles don't want illegal migrants at home. According to an Opinia24 poll for RMF-FM, 3/4 of respondents oppose taking them in. Despite Donald Tusk's assurances, Poland will be a beneficiary of the Migration Pact. We will not pay for anything. We will not have to accept any migrants from other directions. The European Union will not impose any migrant quotas. Illegal migrants are already arriving in Poland. So who should Poles trust? German politicians or the Polish Prime Minister? The truth will be that we will accept these migrants because there will be enough pressure on Poland, especially on the more subservient politicians of the current ruling coalition. Politicians in Brussels are speaking out. We are respectful of the fact that Poles have helped millions of Ukrainians fleeing Putin's Russian aggression. But that cannot be an excuse for the laws we are making, and they sound clear. If there is migratory pressure in a country, then other countries must behave in solidarity. So the so-called solidarity can be implemented not by Poland's acceptance of tens of thousands of illegal migrants at once, but for example, by the systematic dropping off of migrants by German officers. And they are already doing reconnaissance in our country. There are more and more German police on our streets. In the shadow of illegal immigration, the presidential campaign in Poland continues. Some, like Karol Nawrocki, say constantly that the migration pact must be terminated. Others have changed their minds about the migration pact only during the campaign. The presidential election will decide what kind of country Poland will be and whether Poland will still be Poland. It has taken 3 years of war and Russian barbarism in Ukraine for words to flow from the Elysee Palace, admitting that Poland is right about the rebirth of Russian imperialism being a huge threat to Europe. President Emmanuel Macron regrets that he has trusted Putin, despite warnings from Poland, among other countries.
Plus d'heures de discussion avec le président Poutine.
Among Western leaders, I was the one who spent the most hours talking to President Putin. He betrayed that trust. Throughout this time, many countries resented me for holding this dialogue. Germany thought the same. Chancellor Merkel also had this vision. But Poland,
Mais la Pologne, les pays baltes,
the Baltics, and many other European countries said, no, this is not possible. You will see that he will betray you. They knew him because throughout history they have been invaded by Russia. Now the French leader regrets it, but for years Paris and Berlin fueled the Russian war machine by making Europe dependent on Russian raw materials and Kremlin influence. French companies also developed their interests in Russia, risking the security of the people of our continent. Acknowledging that Poland was right is well overdue, and although this is important for Poland today, he is not the first to say so, as it has been also said before, and the fundamental question is whether he will learn from it. It is precisely the deeper reflection of left liberal Western Europe that one is unlikely to hope for. Indeed, Poland and other Baltic countries were right. They should have been listened to more closely, and that's where it will end. French policy and German policy will, of course, continue to seek a deal with Russia. Late Polish President Lech Kaczyński has already warned against Russian imperialism at a symbolic time and place. At Westerplatte, on the 70th anniversary of the outbreak of World War II. Both German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Tusk listened to his words then. Violation of territorial integrity is always an evil. It was then, and it still is today. It is not only a problem of totalitarianism, it is a problem of all imperial or neo-imperial inclinations. Imperialism must not give way. Imperialism or even neo-imperial inclinations must not give way. Subsequent events have only confirmed these words. Today, Russian aggression in Ukraine has continued for 3 years. For 1,095 days, innocent people have been killed and cities destroyed. Heavy fighting is going on. Ukraine and the United States are working together to reach an agreement that will not only strengthen our relations, but above all bring an end to the war. I hope this will happen. That's why President Donald Trump is so adamant that it's high time to end this war. It's time to protect the lives of innocent people who die every day.
We want to stop killing millions of people. You have young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that. Soldiers are being killed by the thousands a week, thousands of soldiers a week. As we speak, they're being killed. That's why I want to see a ceasefire and I want to get the deal done.
Although Donald Trump's peace negotiation methods do not please either Kiev or Brussels, the American leader's real goal is a truce. Western European politicians have failed to achieve it for 3 years. And the Democrats, who previously ruled America, have spent $350 billion on military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. However, there are no results from such policies because the devastating war continues. Civilians are dying, and criminal Russia is not retreating an inch.
To szaleństwo trzeba zakończyć jak najszybciej, bo jest to też w interesie Ukrainy.
This madness must end as soon as possible, because it is also in the interest of Ukraine that their citizens do not die. Putin in no way counts personal losses. However, for Ukraine, it is very important for the war to end so that people don't die. Many politicians have been repeating it like a mantra for the past 3 years that Ukraine, Europe, and the world need peace. Donald Trump is the leader who intends to make this happen. It's an intellectual feast for conservatives around the world. CPAC 2025, the largest conference bringing together Republican circles, is underway in Washington, D.C. Behind us are speeches by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, multi-billionaire Elon Musk, and former Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. This isn't an excerpt from the movie The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's part of Elon Musk's speech at CPAC, the largest U.S. conference of conservatives. The billionaire and one of President Donald Trump's closest associates spoke, among other things, about how he got involved in politics and why he has sided with the Republicans.
I guess, yeah, I mean, I'd say I was politically neutral for quite a while. Leaning a little Democrat,
How do you go from that to this?
Yeah, no.
How does that happen?
Well,
Did they go crazy?
Yeah, they did go crazy.
Yeah, they went crazy.
No, I mean, that whole cancel culture and it's trying to stop freedom of speech and infringe upon people's personal freedoms. They just want state control of what you say. They want to, take away your guns.
Elon Musk, who is leading the initiative to cut government spending, also provided details of a proposal to send Americans a tax refund from funds saved by the Department of Government Efficiency. 79 million tax-paying households would receive about $5,000.
It's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome.
Does it seem, have you talked to
that's like glorious. That's like
it's the best.
The spoils of battle,
I like that. Is there traction on that?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I talked to the president, he's supportive of that. And so it sounds like, that's something we're going to do.
Yep.
The speech by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance also evoked great emotions. A few days after his now legendary speech in Munich, Vance again addressed the situation in Europe. He spoke, among other things, about the need to stop uncontrolled migration imposed on Europeans by self-proclaimed liberal leftist elites.
So, look, the greatest threat in Europe, and I'd say it was the greatest threat in the United States until about 30 days ago, is that you've had the leaders of the West decide that they should send millions and millions of unvetted foreign migrants into their countries. That is the biggest threat to Europe, and frankly, it remains, by the way, the biggest threat to the United States. If the Democrats ever get power again, they're going to try to do it again.
Vance also talked about America not wanting to break its alliance with Europe, but it must be a cooperation based on shared democratic values.
You have to allow European peoples, and of course the American people too, to raise issues about it.
Right.
You have to allow free speech to debate this stuff. You have to stop doing things to the populations of the world. You've got to give the populations of the world the opportunity to speak up and say, no more of this BS. We want borders. We want sovereignty. We want to be able to speak our own mind in our own country.
Meanwhile, Liz Truss, former British Prime Minister, has announced the creation of a new media, independent of European censors, along the lines of the successful one in the United States, through which Americans have been able to learn the conservative point of view and make a fully democratic choice.
Let's be honest, Britain isn't working. The British system is deeply rotten. Britain is becoming a failed state. We've got people who are being arrested and locked up for posting on X and Facebook. We've seen tens of thousands of girls as young as 12 raped, tortured, and even killed by Pakistani grooming gangs. And yet many of those perpetrators have not been brought to justice. In fact, those crimes have been covered up and we know that the authorities colluded.
Mateusz Morawiecki also spoke in Washington. He spoke at CPAC not only as the head of the European Conservatives and Reformists, but also as a former Polish prime minister and vice president of Poland's largest opposition party. He spoke about how step by step the liberal left government of Donald Tusk is destroying democracy in Poland.
You might have heard about the Hudson Institute report quite recently published. What red lines were crossed, what Rubicons were crossed. Attack on democracy, attack on free speech, attack on opposition, putting opposition members in jail. Exactly what Vice President J.D. Vance said in Munich is happening in my homeland. What is this? Is this democracy?
Mateusz Morawiecki's speech also addressed the situation in the European Union. He acknowledged that the Vice President J.D. Vance was right when he accused Europe of violating democratic values, censoring its citizens, and mass uncontrolled immigration, implemented against the will of Europeans.
If we do not fix these internal failures, we will have even bigger challenges to deal with, because Russia, the illegal migration, China, and Islamic terror is just next door, behind the corner.
Representatives of TV Republica are also present at CPAC. We have presented a short video about our station to the conference participants.
Still under construction, but already the biggest news station in Poland. The only international TV station that interviewed Donald J. Trump.
I'd like to say hello to the Polish people.
Poland's leftist government wants to destroy us, but we are not backing down. We're building conservative, English-speaking European news station. Join the movement. Support the revolution.
Make Europe great again.
This is Republica, the home of free speech.